Although we as human beings have come pretty far in the year 2020 in terms of reducing the role that stereotypes play in our society, I think that there are still some that will probably just live on forever. Now, I am not talking about anything that is too malicious or whatever, more so the basics, like football players generally being big, strong, tough guys who are physically imposing enough to strike fear into the hearts of any old regular person. You know, the kind of guy that I am talking about, the one who fits the DK Metcalf or Rob Gronkowski archetype. Both guys tower over the average human. I mean, in the case of these two guys, it is to the point that they even look big on a football field amongst their peers. Think about it. DK is 6 foot 4 inches and 230 pounds of pure muscle, while Gronk is 6 foot 6 and pushing 270 pounds. These guys are freaks, and they are exactly what you think of when you picture an NFL football player. But just because that stereotype exists does not mean that every single NFL player fits it. In fact, one of the NFL's leading scorers in 2020, Rodrigo Blankenship, who has quietly made a name for himself over the past few years, dating back to his days at the University of Georgia, could not look any less like the stereotypical football player. I know he's a kicker, but he looks just like us regular people. He's listed at 6 foot 1 inches and just about 185 pounds soaking wet, meaning that he absolutely is dwarfed by his co-workers. And the fact that he dons the infamous rec specs is just oh so fitting, if you ask me. When he was asked about the rec specs, in part because of how peculiar they appear on a high-level football player, he was frank in his response. "I'm nearsighted," Blankenship said. "It's much easier for me to see close up than it is far away. So being able to see important things like the play clock on a kickoff, or a field goal, or the uprights on a 50-yard field, I need my specs to be able to see that. It's helpful to have a nice, sharp image." Those rec specs played a huge role in him developing the sort of cult following that he has over the past few years, because every time the camera catches a glimpse of him, football fans everywhere fall in love with the idea of Rodrigo Blankenship, the rec specs donning kicker, all over again. There's just something about those glasses. It all started during a game when he was at Georgia, and the Bulldogs were squaring up with the Kentucky Wildcats in Lexington. Georgia was having an uncharacteristically sloppy performance, and the game ended up coming down to the wire, giving Blankenship an opportunity to play hero. The Bulldogs kicker drilled a 25-yarder to win the game with time expiring, and then delivered a post-game press conference for the ages, wearing his helmet and rec specs the entire time.
Rodrigo, 2 seconds on the clock. Your foot, that ball, what's going through your head?
Just do my job.
Of course, social media went wild, and people really had fun with it. Everything from Hot Rod to Mr. Rec Specs and everything in between. I mean, it got to the point that hashtag Respect the Specs was trending. And in the time since, his star has only continued to grow, as he has continued to prove that he is a great kicker and more than just a novelty. Let's take a look back at the history of Rodrigo Blankenship and see how this rather innocuous-looking guy has quickly turned into one of the most prolific scorers in the NFL. For all the success that he has had so far in his college and now his young NFL career, the unassuming Blankenship had rather humble beginnings. He was born in Marietta, Georgia, just a mere hour-and-a-half drive from the University of Georgia's stunning campus is Athens. He's of Brazilian descent through his maternal grandparents, which had a big influence on him growing up, and resulted in him taking to soccer during his formative years, something that likely helped him to develop his leg strength. After spending several years playing soccer, he sort of took to the sport culture in Georgia and transitioned his natural skill set to the gridiron, where he began kicking footballs at 10 years old. It also helped to have some football in his blood as well, as Blankenship's father, Ken, played football at Florida from 1967 to 69. Ken played a pivotal role in Rodrigo's development as a kicker too, by coaching the kickers on every team for which Rodrigo played from 5th grade through the end of high school. The fact that Rodrigo took to kicking as well as he did, and that he was able to do it at such a high level so early on in his life, was the beginning of his existence as an outlier. Think about it. It is rare for a high school kicker to gain really any recognition on a national level, largely due to the fact that it is just an overlooked position. Almost as rare as it is for a guy that looks like Rodrigo Blankenship to be playing any sport professionally, let alone football. But Blankenship was able to get himself on the radar for more than a handful of college programs by asserting himself as one of the best kickers in the country. In fact, it got to the point that he was considered to be a top 10 kicker in the country and ended up proving that he would probably be able to kick at the next level by putting together a mightily accomplished career at Sprayberry High School. His viability as a college kicker was multifaceted. College coaches were impressed by the raw leg strength he put on display, particularly during his senior year when he had over 40 kickoffs that traveled more than 70 yards in the air. He also proved to have plenty of talent when it came to the art of field goal kicking too. During his senior year of high school, he made a career-long field goal of 56 yards and overall went 41 for 64, kicking at a clip of 65%. That isn't an amazing ratio, but when you consider the plethora of kicks he attempted from a range that few high school kickers would even attempt, it kind of makes sense. So on the strength of his kicking leg, Blankenship gained enough notoriety to earn an invite to one of the more prestigious high school scouting events in the country, the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. Overall, he had a pretty successful run at Sprayberry High, enough so that one of the local powerhouse universities came a-calling, and following the end of his senior year, he committed to the University of Georgia as a preferred walk-on. I know preferred walk-on does not sound all that glamorous, but for a place kicker, it is tough to expect a whole heck of a lot more coming out of high school unless you're drilling 60-plus yarders on a semi-regular basis. Especially when you think about what the high school version of Rodrigo Blankenship must have looked like, 4 eyes and all. I mean, his current roster weight of 185 pounds is what he's at after 5 years of working with an elite training staff, both at UGA and now with the Indianapolis Colts, where he signed as an undrafted free agent. Imagine what this kind of kid would have looked like coming out of high school. Either way, he ended up at the University of Georgia, where after redshirting during his first year on campus, he quickly started to prove to his coaches that they made the right choice in extending the preferred walk-on status to him. During his redshirt freshman season, Blankenship earned the starting kicker spot and went 14 for 18 on field goals and 26 for 26 on extra points, not only leading the team in scoring, but also earning some conference-wide recognition as he was named to the All-SEC freshman team. This was enough for the coaches to know that they had brought in a winner. And heading into the 2017 college football season, Blankenship's redshirt sophomore season, the team awarded him a full athletic scholarship. Again, he rewarded the coaching staff's faith in him by putting together one of the most complete collegiate kicking careers in recent memory, a career that culminated in his winning the Lou Groza Award during his final year on campus for being the nation's top-placed kicker. And along the way, he began to supplant himself with the national consciousness more and more, in part because of the number of big-time kicks that he made for Georgia. There was the 55-yarder that he made against the University of Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl while he was expiring at the end of the first half. And then there was the epic would-be game winner that he hit in overtime of the national championship game against Alabama from 51 yards out. Of course, Bama came back to win, but even so, it was a big moment for Blankenship to prove what he could do on the national stage. And once he did, the camera zoomed in on him, giving a close-up view of his epic rec specs that have quickly made him a fan favorite in the NFL. While Rodrigo Blankenship's career is still young, it is still looking like he will be around for a while. Partway through his rookie season, Rodrigo Blankenship has been absolutely nails for the Colts. Through the first 13 weeks of the 2020 season, the undrafted Georgia product has connected on 24 out of 27 field goal attempts, which is good for nearly 89%, as well as 30 of 32 on his extra point tries at a clip of over 93%. That has given him 102 total points through 11 games, putting him near the top of the league for points scored and made field goals. So, yeah, if he can keep that kind of production up, he will be in the NFL for a long, long time. And if you ask me, that is a good thing. The rec specs are instant entertainment, and seeing the physical comparison between Blankenship and some of the other players around the league, well, that will simply never get old. Who is your favorite NFL kicker right now? Join us in the comment section down below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out a ton and we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you all next time.